All right. So, we're going to have an episode talking about the Deviltubbies. Time for Deviltubbies. Time for Deviltubbies. And the idea I got from this was I was watching some old videos on the Prophecy Club. These are on YouTube. These are awesome. I love these videos. But this dude, his name is Stephen Dollins. And he's a pastor, and he's basically talking about how so many things in the modern world are embedded with pagan symbolism or occultic symbolism that most people don't even know, and people just shrug it off. But you probably have all this stuff in your household. Okay, symbolism with Harry Potter, symbolism with Pokemon, symbolism with the Teletubbies. And so I was watching this, and there's a lot of interesting information here. Whether you think it's crazy or not, it's awesome. Okay, so this show called the Teletubbies, which is a children's show, and you have these weird-ass fucking robot, transgender, transhumanist babies, I guess, is what they're supposed to be. And it's just a weird, bizarre show. And anybody who's seen this, or you've watched it or something, or seen it pop up on TV, it's just the weirdest thing ever. Like, how did you even greenlight this? How do you push a show like this? You go to the BBC, and you're like, listen, I have these weird-ass robot babies with TVs on their stomach, okay? And here's a photo of them, and he shows you this, okay? And they live in some world all by themselves, and they just run around and play and do things. And there's a son with a baby face on it. And BBC was like, this is brilliant. Somebody sign this, man. You know, like, how do you pitch something like this? How does something like this get through? But we're going to look at pagan symbols, satanic pagan symbols, and transgender, transhumanist agenda, even in a children's show, okay? So there's a lot of stuff here, but it's talking about the symbols in the show and how it's all tied to paganism and the ideas and the things that they're pushing and how it's purely pushed on children. And kids, when this first came out, they loved this show, okay? The show was like, for somehow, in some way, it was just a huge hit. And it's the weirdest freaking thing, okay? But it just talks a lot about the world they live in, the things that are there, and the symbolism, the sun, and we'll kind of dive into the symbolism, but the sun is a giant baby, and if they make the baby angry, it will rain, and he will frown at them, and it'll get dark, and thunder and lightning, and then if he's happy, it'll cause sunshine and friendly, things to happen and whatnot. There's a symbolism of that. There's a symbolism of their colors and the symbols on their heads. Each one has an antenna on their head, okay? These little pagan transgender devil babies have antennas on their head, allegedly. That's what they are. And these antennas have symbolism tied to them. The whole world that they live in is just a weird, bizarre place with zero parental supervision. It's just a giant field with a weird eco-greenhouse and a propaganda speaker that pops out of the ground and tells them what to do for the day, okay? And there's a weird-ass vacuum that sucks things up and rabbits everywhere. And so we're going to take a look at some of the symbolism within the show, and as well as symbolism, pagan symbolism, and just children's cereal, okay? So we're going to go ahead and start with the Teletubbies. And there's a lot of stuff here. You can find stuff on it. Like I say, it's comedy. I wanted to kind of throw in a weird, bizarre-ass, random schizoid one. So that's what we're going to do, okay? But this weird-ass show and just all the things that are tied with it and tied into it, okay? The Teletubbies. So let's go ahead and kind of browse the Teletubbies just themselves. So one Teletubby, his name is Poe, okay? I want to say he's a red guy. Let's see. Yeah, Poe, okay? What the fuck is this? This is weird. Ignore that. That's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be Teletubby Poe, okay? And he's a red guy. And basically this Teletubby has a circle on his head, okay? Poe is the fourth and youngest Teletubby. She lives in Teletubby land with the other Teletubbies, okay? So this Teletubby is red and has a circle on his head, okay? And the circle is a pagan symbol for fertility or like female, prosperity and whatnot. The circle with a dot inside of it, none of this is loading. There was those crazy pictures. Hopefully you saw it there. Not gonna pull that shit up. I don't know what the fuck that was. Okay, but the circle. Okay, the circle is basically a symbolism for fertility or women's power and whatnot. And it's sometimes shown with a dot in the middle. Sometimes it's shown different ways. That's why they have the circle around a star. Okay, they have the circle in the three goddesses symbol is a circle in the middle. You see this a lot in pagan symbols. The solar cross, okay, representing the sun and cycles of life, okay, fertility, all this kinds of stuff. You can Google all these pagan symbols and find stuff out on it. But she has a circle on the head, and it's representing fertility. Okay, there's another one called Dipsy. Okay, Dipsy. Hopefully, there's no fucking weird pictures here, besides just the obvious weirdness of the original ones, anyway. But this thing, okay, fetal alcohol syndrome, fucking Greta Thunberg baby, has a huge rod. Okay, a huge rod right on his head. Okay, the rod is a symbolism. It's a phallic symbol. It's literally just representing a cock or a penis. Okay, and the symbol, he just walks around with a giant cock on top of his head. Here's Poe, a good one. You see the circle? Okay, that's representing fertility. And then you have the rod on top of this guy's head, and it's representing, basically a cock. He's literally a cockhead on a children's show. And that's Dipsy. And there's different variations of this through different cultures. In India, they call it the lingam. This is basically representation of a cock or a giant dick. They call them lingam stones. In England, they have the maypole. Okay, these are Hindu temples and stuff like that. They're basically phallic symbols. Read into it. In England and other cultures, they have the maypole. Okay, which is during the springtime, representing fertility and the start of the new cycle and blah blah blah. And you're basically having children dance around a giant cock. Okay, it's literally representative of a phallic symbol. But the maypole, and if you already know stuff like this, the obelisk is a representation of the cock of Osiris from Egypt. Okay, these are just giant cocks. Okay, rockets, when they're shooting rockets into space, they're just building giant dicks into space. Okay, launching dicks into space. And that Teletubby has a giant dick right on top of his head. Okay, in a children's show. Okay, then there's another one called Lala. Okay, this is Lala. Lala kind of has a combination of the two, which is chaotic. Okay, it's like a spiral and the phallic symbol. So it's a circle and the rod crossed between it. Okay, kind of in the same symbol in one. You can see it right here, which can also be a spiral. Okay, but depending how you view it, it's the circle and the rod together, and the spiral. Okay, and in pagan symbolism, the spiral represents all sorts of things. You can see all these symbols, usually on fertility goddesses. Okay, they'll use the spirals. Okay, and certain things in regards to like Pizzagate, they'll use the spirals. You'll see this a lot, spirals and whatnot. Here we have spirals inside of a circle. Okay, it's all connected. It's all just pagan symbolism in children's television shows pushing demonic, satanic concepts and themes to children. Then there's the worst one of them all, right? This dude's name is called Tinky Winky. Okay, look at this gay guy. Look at this gay sack of shit. Look at that shit. All right, this dude runs around in a tutu, and he's also famous for holding a red purse. He always walks around with a red purse. It's a he, by the way. Okay, and so he's always dancing around in a tutu, and he's always carrying a red purse. And he has the antenna or the symbol of the upside down purple triangle on his head. Okay, here they are. We got the circle for the female fertility. We have the rod for cocks. We have the cocks and the circle together combined, forming a spiral, which is chaos. And then you have this dude with a purple upside down triangle on his head, which is literally the symbolism for transgenderism. Okay, it's literally a symbol for transgenderism. And the dude's running around with a purse and a tutu. Okay, and it's just all put into television shows for children. Even the world they live in, okay, Teletubby land or whatever you want to call it, is this weird place with no parents anywhere, and rabbits hopping all over the place. Okay, rabbits, symbols of fertility. Okay, hills, mounds, all this kinds of stuff, and they live in this weird land where they have nothing to do until they're told to do something, and they live in this weird eco-friendly, house in the ground all by themselves. Babies, apparently. They got weird ass windmills back here and weird fake plastic flowers and rabbits hopping around. Okay, and trees with no leaves back here. It's just a weird ass land. Okay, how do you pitch this shit? Okay, then this propaganda speaker comes out of the ground and it gives them goals and things for the day. There's more rabbits here. Okay, rabbits all over the fucking place. And it gives them things to do for the day, and they listen to it. And there's a giant sun, okay? And the sun is some sort of demonic, satanic baby that if they make the sun mad, it will cause it to rain, and there's thunder, and they get scared, and they run around. The sun is essentially overwatching everything that they do and telling them what to do and making sure they do it right. If he's happy, things go bad. And the sun is also a pagan symbol as well, okay? You have the wheel of life, you have the black sun, you have the sun wheel, okay? You have the solar cross, all of this stuff, representations of the sun, okay? All paganistic symbols. You can look into all of this, okay? Another thing we were talking about, children's cereal, is a cereal called Lucky Charms. Okay, it's a cereal called Lucky Charms, and it has these weird symbols and marshmallows, all supposed to bring you good luck to start your day, fortified with Satanism to start your day, satanic cereals, okay? And and all these symbols they're not nothing, okay? Right off the bat, originally it was going to be a wizard. Right now the character or mascot is a leprechaun. It was originally going to be a wizard, a forgetful wizard who was had these magical emblems for you to start your day. None of this is loading. But yeah, so Lucky Charms and just the symbolism, just even in a children's cereal. So as you're eating it, okay, you're eating pagan satanic symbols. Waldo the Wizard, okay, that was going to be the original mascot. And so there's a lot of stuff, with this. And then recently, oh my gosh, it's causing diarrhea and vomiting. You shouldn't eat satanic symbols for breakfast, fortified satanic symbols. With vitamins and minerals. And then not only this, but the symbols of the oat pieces also spell out like luck, according to the Kensington runestone, which is a runestone in the northeast of or in Minnesota, okay, in the States, and they believe it came from Norse people who had gotten there first. Some people say it's a hoax, some people say blah 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 blah, okay. But basically, if you take these symbols from the Lucky Charms cereal, it spells out luck using the lodestone runes. So there's a lot of stuff here. Interesting stuff. And like I say, maybe this doesn't add up, and you can look into it for yourself. But the symbols literally spell out luck. You have a symbol of a bell, you have a symbol of a fish, you have a symbol of a cross, and an arrowhead. These are all pagan symbols. All of the marshmallow pieces are pagan symbols. And then even further with that, the Teletubbies go on to hit this gay guy up, and they want to do collaborations with him, okay? And so they're talking about collaborations with a guy who works on the devil, and you have some transgender, demon baby, satanic, transhumanist, robot stomach people. And it's just like, why is this all pushed to children? And all these things are based off of paganistic, points of view and paganistic symbolism pushed on TV. It's not nothing, guys. And, they literally hit this guy up and they're like, hey, we should do some work together. And he's like, yeah, okay, sure. And he totally wants to do work with the purple one, who is the symbol for transgenderism. Okay, they want to get a feature on his next album, okay, and they sent him some photos and stuff. And it's just wild shit, guys. And it's everywhere. And like I said, why is this so prevalent in a children's show? Like, why would you put this on TV? How did you pitch this show? Like, makes no sense. If I go to a studio and I'm like, hey, I have a show about this, and that, there's no way I can get it on. But you go to BBC and you pitch the weirdest thing in the world, and it's like you get okayed with it. So yeah, just this totally isn't gay. It's all just pushing an agenda. All right, the Deviltubbies.